Welcome in, sorcerers. Today we're going to be talking about a deck I am currently working on called Bladedancer. If you're unfamiliar with Bladedancer, this is an avatar that comes out of Gothic, and it allows you to play what is a strategy known as Voltron in Magic circles, or in sorcery terms, basically just an avatar-centric list. So we're just going to deal with mostly pumping up Bladedancer, making her stronger, and using her ability, which is as follows. After Bladedancer's first attack each turn, Bladedancer may take a step, and when she does, she may attack a unit there. So basically, she's going to get double strike in Magic terms. But there are some stipulations to it. Notice it says may attack a unit there. So Bladedancer will get to take out creatures, but also deal a lot of damage to sites at the same time. Or to avatars. Hopefully, avatar will count as a unit, so hopefully if you've marched across the battlefield quickly enough, then you can start double striking the avatar for a ton of damage. So basically, how this works is if, say these are enemy sites that we've put down, and we're approaching their section of the board, well, I can move to attack this site, and then after that's done, I can take a step and attack another unit at this other site that is adjacent to it. And so the movement of Bladedancer kind of being doubled in that way, and the damage being doubled, is a strategy that we're trying to utilize in this deck. So how do we do that? This is a 1 power and toughness avatar. How are we going to bolster this up? Well, the first thing you might think is equipment. So we're going to start there. We have a copy of Flaming Sword, gives it 1 power, and it strikes splash full damage to each other enemy at a struck unit's location. So with Flaming Sword, Bladedancer can kind of clear out a whole little site of little tiny minions, usually no problem. This will pump her up to 2 power. Iron Maiden is something I'm experimenting with. There's other spells that typically run in a Bladedancer list, but I don't have those cards yet. So some of these are a little all over the place. Iron Maiden, whenever a nearby avatar draws a card, they lose life equal to the number of cards they've drawn this turn. So my idea with this card is simply to just kind of pull it over to the enemy side and just do incremental damage. This is a card that really got me on a Bladedancer list in the first place. Screaming Skull is an elite relic. Whenever bearer attacks and kills an enemy, it untaps. So this will allow Bladedancer, if she's carrying the Screaming Skull, to go ahead and attack 3 times. So that's pretty awesome. The untap will also allow her to say, play or draw sight, if that's what you really needed to do, if there's no other unit to attack, something like that. Yeah, so Screaming Skull will just triple up the double up that's already there. Sword and Shield, I only have 2 copies of this, but Sword and Shield basically just gives her +2 power. So that makes her a 3 power minion. Mandrake Jars seems like maybe a weird one for some folks, but it gives +1 power. Any of these spellcaster artifacts, there's 1 for each element, would do. But this allows her to also put spellcasting things on what I have some Tooth Fairies in the deck that come in handy sometimes, so they can be turned into spellcasters as well in a pinch if I need them to be. This one has been an absolute all-star. Angel's Egg. For 3 mana, you put out an elite relic of Seraphic Transfixion. At the end of each turn, that's important to remember, the controller of Angel's Egg site heals 1 life. So in multiplayer, which we're going to cover soon in this game, that's going to get even more powerful. But even in this list, just in 2-player games, Angel's Egg has been great. It's kept me off of Death's Door on its own, so that's awesome. Keys to the City, or Key to the City, for 1 mana, a unique relic of ceremonial access, provides an extra mana, which is nice because you do not play a lot of sites in the Bladedancer list, like actively play them, even though you still have 30 in the deck. The idea being that you want to be way more aggressive. So getting some extra mana can be helpful sometimes, but most importantly is that this prevents Bladedancer from being bogged down by any kind of, say, a troll bridge or any kind of other weird sites that might have problems. We can ignore site abilities, Thin Ice, or who knows what. We don't need to worry about that stuff. Poisonous Dagger. If for some reason Bladedancer can't be pumped up, you can give her lethal. So just being able to do 1 damage to a giant octopus or something like that, yes, you will be fighting it and you will lose that amount of life, but you'll at least be able to clear it off the board. So Poisonous Dagger can be very helpful. And if something like your Tooth Fairies, which you'll see later, carries it, that's great. Torshamar Trinket. I only have 1 of these. This is a replayable equipment. Basically, bearer has +1 power, and at the end of your turn, return it to its owner's hand. Now, that's important in this game. Some newer people might not understand why, but basically there are spells that sort of like steal your artifacts or make you drop your artifacts or destroy your artifacts if you're carrying them. All kinds of weird stuff. Avatars tend to get around some of these spells, you know, like you can't kill Bladedancer with a spell outright, like with hard removal, and make the Bladedancer drop all of its equipment on the site, like you could with, say, a minion. But there are other spells that, like I said, make steal artifacts or make you drop things. And so rather than letting the opponent come up with some machinations on their turn, being able to play this 1 mana spell quickly, effectively, carry it, and deal an extra damage, and then pick it up back to your hand at the end of turn before they can sort of react to it is a powerful effect. I only have 1 though, so it's only 1 in the deck. Blade of Thorns. Besides looking fairly epic, bearer has +3 power, but it can't drop this weapon, and its controller loses 2 life at the end of their turn. You know, Bladedancer is all about living fast and living hard. So if you happen to die to your own Blade of Thorns, well, it is what it is. Ring of Morrigan. This is a little bit of healing ability in the deck, and it allows me to go ahead and whenever I cast pump spells to my Bladedancer, it can deal 1 damage to target nearby unit and have me gain 1 life. So that could be pretty handy in the game. Now we're going to get more into our spells. So the first one we have is we don't have a single one of these. Most are 4-ofs in this deck. I have a lot of ordinary spells that are very cheap to buy and cast. But Mortality is a spell just to kill all mortal minions at target location up to 2 steps away. We're going to test this out. I haven't had it in the deck before, but having a 1-of in here, and I have 4 tutors that can search for an ordinary spell, this felt like a useful kill spell, maybe against like knights or bigger mortals like Lilith or whoever, you know. Then we have Magic Missiles. I see these as like avatar removal if they're on death's door. Being able to shoot multiple projectiles at an avatar and maybe some minions that are surrounding it can be helpful. We have 2 Tooth Fairies. I wish I had 3, but I don't have a 3rd one yet. We're going to keep, maybe I should go purchase one. They're airborne at the start of your turn, tap target nearby enemy, so they can kind of clear a path for you to march unhindered towards your destination, whatever that is. By tapping the nearby enemy, the enemies cannot deal damage back, I don't believe. And if that's correct or incorrect, you can correct me in the comments below. I'm more than willing to hear corrections. As I've said before, sometimes the rules are a little confusing, but I believe if it is a tapped minion, they cannot deal damage back. But even if they deal damage back and they're tapped, I'm okay with that because it allows them not to intercept the Bladedancer as the Bladedancer is trying to run in and smash a site and then go smash another unit. Kind of allows unimpeded access. And they do that every turn. Then we have Duel. So if your Bladedancer is right next to an enemy, you can have an ally. Your avatar does count as an ally. Fights target enemy adjacent to it. Psionic Blast I like for 2 mana and air threshold. Deal 1 damage to each minion here. They're disabled until your next turn. So this will disable all the little foes around you. We have 3 grapple shots. I wish I had 4, but we're going to get a new beta box here in shortly, so hopefully we'll pull another one. An ally shoots a projectile. If it hits a unit, the ally is dragged to that location and may strike the hit unit when it arrives. Now, if you fire into a site, I found this out the other day, that has multiple units on it, you get to choose which one you hit, because we couldn't figure that out for a minute. But yeah, so you grapple shot and there's like a skeleton and a grizzly bear and a fairy, who knows, and you get to choose which of those you want to grapple onto and then smash whenever you get there. So here's some of our pump spells. We have 4 overpowers in the deck. Overpower is the very basic vanilla 1 mana, give an ally +2 power this turn. And so anything that gives pluses in this deck, it's important to know Bladedancer kind of doubles that up, because Bladedancer is already going to be able to attack twice. So if you're pumping up Bladedancer to 3, 4, 5, 6, then you're dealing not 3, 4, 5, 6, you're dealing 6, 8, 10, 12 on the following turn, or on that turn. So that's important to remember. These are to clear out little minions, and also for avatar removal after you've got them at Death's Door. I think it's important to have spells you can cast anywhere on the board for Death's Door purposes, so Lightning Bolt fits that purpose. Gift of the Wolf. This sees a lot of play these days from what I understand, from my limited knowledge of the competitive scene, but give an allied minion +2 power this turn, draw a spell. Now, I looked online, and give an allied minion +2 power this turn. I'm a little confused on to whether or not this can be cast on your avatar. Online answers said yes, but the nomenclature of allied minion +2 power kind of threw me off. Now, avatar can count as a minion, I believe, but if not, correct me in the comments below. If it does work, this card's excellent. Anything that cantrips in Magic or Sorcery or anything else, but also gives you a bonus effect, is almost like free spell, even though it does cost 2, and there's double Earth threshold, so it can be a little tough sometimes. But does what Bladedancer wants, buffs up Bladedancer, and then draws you an extra card, cantrips into the next powerful spell. I mean, it's excellent. Then we've got movement spells. We've got teleport. We have 4 of these. Teleport an ally to the surface of target site, just kind of wherever you want to go. Very helpful, because what Bladedancer does kind of is Bladedancer will start by playing a few sites, and then is just kind of stuck in your opening position. And you obviously want Bladedancer across the board. So things like teleport are very important, because once you've sort of developed your board, given yourself a sword or something like that, then all of a sudden you want to become a threat, and teleport will allow you to do that. So speaking of, you want to be attacking, not necessarily making sites, just creating more sites, but you also kind of don't want to be constricted on your resources. So the way I've thought of to get around this is with this card, Landmass. Draw a site, you may play a land site. So this allows you to play sites and draw them without using your Bladedancer's ability to tap and play a site. So that's very important, I think, in this deck, because honestly, like, there are times where I've played this before without the land masses, and I'll find myself on 2 or 3 sites, and I'm conflicted. I'm like, do I want to play this sword, or do I want to play this land that will allow me to like play another bigger spell later? All the spells try to be 3 or less in here, but there are some that are more expensive or maybe have like 2 threshold on them. So you do want to be playing sites. It's kind of a balance system, and I'm testing this out. If you've had any experience with this before, let me know in the comments how it works for you. I just love landmass. I'm a green player and Magic at heart, so anytime I can ramp, I do. Tactical move. I'm kind of enjoying this one. 1 at a time, each ally takes up to 2 steps. Well, you're not going to have many allies. You may have a couple. But mostly your Bladedancer will get to take 2 steps as well. Again, we're just trying to move across the board as efficiently as possible. Speaking of, Blink. Wonderful spell. If I could run more of these, I would, but there's 4 in there now. An ally teleports to a location it's nearby. Draw a card. Anything that cantrips, I love it. So going along with the land masses that were on the deck, we have 4 Kettletop Unicorns. These don't play the sites, but they do give us something that gives a little damage, or perhaps takes incoming enemies, is able to fight them and protect our own sites, and on death draws a site. So it does give us a little bit of card advantage. It helps keeps our hand filled with land in case we need to play some more. So it's just incremental advantage, and 2 power, 2 mana creature, nothing to sniff at early in the game. And then finally in our deck, We have a lot of commons in here, a lot of ordinaries rather. So we're running common sense. 4 of these. I only have 1 in foil, but it's literally all the common senses I have. I don't traditionally run foils because sometimes I'm thinking about selling them on TCG Player, but for this case, I did not have 4 common senses, so I had to run this one, 4 non-foil common senses. So this searches your spell book for an ordinary card, reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle your spell book for just 2 mana. Very powerful, lightning bolts, gifts of the wolf, whatever you can think of, tactical moves, blinks, whatever you need. You can kind of search your deck for. Now, let's go to the sites. The sites are a little, boring perhaps. There's nothing too interesting in here, but let's look at them. We've got Occult, Bureau of Occult Control. These first sites are going to be sort of more sideboardy, kind of feeling specific instance sites. An elite site that regulates and taxes sorcery. So players must pay 2 to access a collection or a cemetery. I do not run a collection with this deck. That could be a mistake, but honestly, I don't own many toolboxes. I only own 2 total, and those are in other decks. So instead of just running that, I was like, well, let me just run this land that can actually keep my opponents off of using their toolboxes as efficiently. Then we have Heirloom Lost. This is in case the opponent has a land that is particularly troublesome. You may play this to replace any player's elite or unique site under their control. So that is strictly for use of, the O-ish handle that you hold on into your card. If you're about to crash, that's what Heirloom Lost is. Mudflow, at the start of your turn, surface or unburrow each minion occupying target site nearby. So if you have burrowed or submerged minions, this will allow you to pull them up to the surface so that Bladedancer can chop their heads off. Whack-a-mole style. Then we have 3 lookouts. Genesis, look at opponent's hand. I feel like that's fairly useful in case you're going in for a kill. Accursed Tower, you can break nearby wards. That also is handy for your Bladedancer because you want to go ahead and make your attacks count. Gothic Tower, we have all the towers. We have 3 of each. We don't want to draw multiples in a game, but having 3 of each mathematically sort of works out to where you may get 1 or 2 in your opening hand, and that's nice because they do give you extra mana, and this deck doesn't run a lot of sites, or doesn't play a lot of sites. So having Lone Tower, Gothic Tower, and Dark Tower to give you that 1 additional resource when they come into play or have their Genesis ability is very handy. Blessed Village, since we don't have a lot of defending creatures outside the Kettle Top Leprechauns, Blessed Village comes in with Ward. So this actually protects your lands. You can play these on your front line and sort of feel safe. I have 4 of these. Feel safe that the first hit at least will be nullified. Then we have a little bit of a sideboardy card. Genesis, until your next turn, minions are silenced while atop nearby sites. Now, avatars cannot be silenced. So even though an avatar can count as a minion, it cannot be silenced as per the rules of the game. So this does not affect Bladedancer, which is nice. It will affect all your opponent's enemies. And I think that's correct. Again, if that's not correct, maybe some rules folks can explain it to me better in the comments below. But I believe it's correct as is. No Man's Land, players can't summon minions to this site or to the one directly in front of it. Sort of a defensive play. Again, you're trying to clear the path to the enemy avatar, which is ultimately where you want to race to. And then finally, we have 3 haystacks. Opponents' deck searches are limited to the top 3 cards in case they're trying to do their own sort of common sense or something like that. And then we have a windmill, which simply runs the 2 elements that we use, earth and air. Well, that has been my current iteration of Bladedancer. Do you see things that are interesting? Do you see things that seem bad? I'm open to hear any and all comments. I would love to hear your take. If you've played a Bladedancer before, for instance, and had some success or felt like it didn't work at all, let's just talk it out in the comments below. But to me, this seems like a really fun kind of new direction for sorcery to take. I mean, I think there's one other Voltron battle mage that people sometimes run, but I just love the the movement and the second attack. To me, that like allows you to just kind of glide across the board, and that seems just really fun to me. So anyways, thank you so much for watching this. I'll have the list in the show notes below. It'll be up on Curiosa.io. Maybe I'll put the original list and then this, which is sort of 2.0 version, side by side, so that you can kind of see the progression that I'm taking. And then maybe we'll do 3.0 once the comments are made. Future videos, we're going to have another box opening, I think, that will come out right after this video for beta. And so hopefully we'll get some more sweet cards we can use in the deck. Until then, y'all have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the realm.